Welcome to today's class, Effect of Light on Plants. Myself, J. Lavanya, lecturer in Botany, Vishaka Government Degree College for Women, Vishakhapatnam. There are so many ecological factors which affect the growth of plants. Light is an important ecological factor which affects the plant growth. Light shows its effect on basic physiological processes of plants such as photosynthesis, transpiration, seed germination, flowering like that, and thus is of much concern in ecology. So we know photosynthesis requires CO2, H2O, chlorophyll and light also. Light is very essential for activation of photosystems. Thus, light is an important ecological factor for photosynthesis. In transpiration also, for opening of stomata, light is important. Red light is important for seed germination, and light also affects the flowering in many plants. Light plays important role in the species composition and development of vegetation. So what is light? Light is a form of radiant energy. The visible range of light is between 380 nanometers to 720 nanometers. Fibsoyer range 700 nanometers light is essential for activation of photosystem 1. 680 nanometers light is important for photosystem 2. The red and blue parts of the spectrum are useful in photosynthesis. The intensity of light is usually measured by an instrument called photometer or lux meter. Light affects the plant life in different ways. Chlorophyll production, eating action, like that. In chlorophyll production, light is very essential. Most of the plants need light for chlorophyll formation. Thus, existence of other life forms which depend upon plants for food is due to light. So, directly, indirectly, all the organisms depend on light. The seedlings of conifers, young plants of ferns, some mosses and algae which may become green even in shady places. Heating action. Exposure of parts of the plants to light raises their temperature which affect their related processes. Effect on transpiration rate. Due to light, temperature increases which in turn increases the transpiration rate. The transpiration rates correspondingly affect water absorption also. Thus, high light intensities are always associated with dry habitats and high transpiration rates. Here, due to more light, more temperature, we can say more transpiration rate. Stomatal movement. Opening and closing of stomata is regulated by light. This is thus related to transpiration and water absorption. Distribution of plants. Light conditions at poles are different from other parts of the earth. Thus, total amount of radiation received by the earth's surface differs with latitude. We know at the equator the light radiation is high. we go towards poles, what happens? The light intensity is decreased. This may be one of the reasons for differences in the vegetation at poles and other parts of the earth. Vegetative development of plant parts. Light affects the overall development of plant parts. Depending upon the light requirement, the plants are classified ecologically into two types. They are heliophytes and sciophytes. What are heliophytes? The plants which grow best in full sunlight are called heliophytes. Example, dalbergia. Sciophytes, the plants which grow best at lower light intensities are called sciophytes. Oxalis. So they need very lower light intensities. So we can say these plants grow in very shady places. Facultative heliophytes. The plants which also grow best at lower light intensities but can also grow well in full sunlight are called facultative heliophytes. Facultative sciophytes. The plants which grow best in sun but can also grow fairly well under shade are called facultative sciophytes. Leaf structure of the plants also affected by light. Leaf thickness increases with increasing light intensity. The plants growing in high light intensity have thick, long leaves, which have more polysaccharide parenchyma. The plants growing in low light intensity have thin, broad leaves, which have more spongy parenchyma. Thus, light affects the vegetative structures, shapes in plants. Coming to photoperiodism. What is photoperiodism? Photoperiodism is defined as the developmental responses of the plants to the relative lengths of light and dark periods. Photoperiod is the total length of the daily light period to which plants are exposed. Photoperiod has pronounced effect on the vegetative growth as well as flowering of plants. On the basis of photoperiod, the plants are different types. They are short day plants, long day plants, and day neutral plants. So what are short day plants? These plants develop normally only when the photoperiod is less than a critical maximum period. If 12 to 14 hours is a critical period, so short day plants need less than that period. Salvia, splendens, cannabis, sativa, datura stromonium. All these plants are short day plants. Long day plants. These plants develop well only when the photoperiod is more than a critical minimum period. So, the day length is high in these plants. They require more daylight. Brassicarepa, Sickle Sorghum Vulgare. All these plants are long day plants. What about day neutral plants? The plants which develop regardless of the length of the period of the light that they are exposed. So, at any light they grow well. Cucumis sativa, Solanum tuberosum, Gossypium hirsutum. So, coming to succession, ecological succession. Ecologically in plant succession, the light requirements of pioneers are comparatively much more than the climax species. See, in ecological succession, what happens? A place is invaded by pioneers. They require more light. Later on, so many communities occupy that plants one by one. Finally, a climax species invade that place. That community is climax community. So here Painter's requirement is high when compared to climax species. So thus the light is an important ecological factor. We can see how it affects the distribution of plants through its effects on photosynthesis. So here light affects the photosynthesis, which is a very important phenomena in all plants. So for ecologically plants are the producers. Why? Because they are synthesizing the food by a process known as photosynthesis. So many processes in plants are affected by light. Vegetative shape of the plants, tissue differentiation in plants, all are affected by light. Chlorophyll production, more light, more chlorophyll production, more number of the chloroplasts. Leaf structure, thickness, thinness, all these are affected by light. Stomatal movement, transpiration rate, growth and development of flowers, seeds, fruits, all these processes require light. So by observing this, we can say light is an important ecological factor which affects the plant growth, and many physiological processes in plants are affected by light. So finally we can say light is a very important ecological factor for plant growth. Thank you for listening.